I'm going to start in a pot making a sauce. Now, I have to tell you, I borrowed this recipe from my dear mom, who made this for us. So a little olive oil goes in the pan. You could use butter if you didn't want to use olive oil. And again, we're starting out with some onions. So onions go in. I'm going to turn that up. And give those a stir. We want to get that soft. And I've cooked the pasta for you for this already. Just, again, until it was very, very firm. See, it's just got a little softness on it. This is cavatappi, but you could use elbow macaroni for this. You could use a farfalle if you wanted to, a butterfly. But this is what I remember from home, the cavatappi. So there it is. And if you want to do this ahead of time like this, you could make this part, you do this part, put a little bit of olive oil on it so it isn't all sticking together. All right, so back to the onions. So we get them soft, and we add some flour. 2 tablespoons of flour to the onions. This is going to help us with our sauce. And I remember having this a lot at home, especially on a Friday night. So we want to get those onions coated in the flour. We're going to give that a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. And this is the thing I always remember my mother using. This is an Italian-American version now. Dry mustard. Never knew why. Dry mustard. I never asked, why is she putting dried mustard in? Well, the dry mustard actually helps as an emulsifier. So when you put the milk in for the sauce, it's going to help thicken it. So we stir the mustard around, and then she added, you ready for this? Non-fat evaporated milk. That's what we got here. Non-fat evaporated milk. And actually that's a good thing because it helps to cut down on the calories in the casserole. Non-fat evaporated milk. And I think that came from the fact that, you know, when I was growing up, they had to economize, and oftentimes they didn't have the money to buy real expensive things, so my mother would improvise, and she would use what she had on hand. So evaporated milk it was. So once that's in, you want this to come to a boil and thicken. And it's going to take about 3 or 4 minutes to do, and then we'll add our cheese. All right, this sauce looks good. It's slightly thickened. It's not real thick. We don't want it real thick, but it's slightly thickened. So now we're going to add cheddar cheese. That's what Mom added. I know, doesn't sound Italian, but remember, this is an Italian-American casserole. So we add the cheese, and that helps to thicken that sauce beautifully. Okay, once that happens, well, now we can mix it with our pasta. So here's our cavatappi, or you're using elbow or farfalle, whatever is your preference. We're going to add the sauce. There's my trick again, to not splash yourself, just pour it right over your spoon. See how beautiful that looks? Every time I make this, I think of Mom. And you mix that all around. Now these are going to get baked, but we're not going to do just an ordinary casserole for this. That just wouldn't be in the tradition of how my mother thought. My mother was always thinking outside the box, if you know what I mean. No. Instead, to make things go further, yes, she did them in cupcake pans. That way you could only have one. And you want to spray them. This is a non-stick, so you don't even have to spray. And so she could get a lot of servings out of something like this. She would do them in a cupcake pan. So in they go. And I use just a scoop like this to help me control where I'm putting it. So I want it to look neat and tidy. And the beauty of doing it like this, and I do this for my kids now, the beauty of doing it like this is, not only do you have an already prepared individual serving, but whatever you have left over, you can either freeze or put in the refrigerator and use for another time. I like to wrap these up individually in paper and put them in the freezer. Then I have them, you know, on a night when you're really busy and you don't have time to think about making something really great that's going to take all day, you can do this. You can make these little individual macaroni, as she called it. Macaroni. And my grandmother called it macaroon. So you have all these different dialect words. Macaroni, macaroon. It's all ready to go. And then you could put some cheese over the top. I got a little carried away with myself and I put all the cheese in the sauce, but that's okay. If you want to sprinkle a little bit more cheese over the top, you can do that. The oven is on at 350 degrees. Don't they look beautiful? These are going to bake in about 20 minutes. You bake them first, and then, if you have cheese on top, you run them under the broiler just for a few minutes. So in they go. I made some for you ahead of time, and they've been cooling a little bit. Just want to show you how beautiful they look. There they are. Aren't they gorgeous? They always remind me of home.